bring the jury up?
All right, for the jury.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Anybody read, hear, listen to, see anything about this case over the night? No. Are you ready to get back to work? It's going to be a long day. Who's our next witness?
Eric Resch.
Sir, do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth?
Yes.
And what is your first name?
Eric.
E-R.
I-C.
And your last name?
Reschke. R-E-S-C-H-K-E.
C-H-K-E. Okay. Have a seat. Speak loudly.
All right.
Morning, Mr. Reschke.
Good morning.
May I call you Eric?
Yes.
I'm going to do the best I can to stay back here. Keep your voice up because we are recording it and everybody in the courtroom needs to hear your responses. How old are you?
46.
Which city?
47, I'm sorry.
Okay. Credibility-wise, that's not a good start.
Yeah.
What city do you live in?
Armada.
Are you married or single?
Married.
And how long have you been married?
Boy.
Okay, here we go again. Maybe I get to the easier question.
Well,
And this
it's
is
getting
being
hot up here.
taped, so I will send a copy to your wife.
Too long is appropriate.
18 years.
How many children do you have?
We have 2.
What? I don't need to know their names. What are their ages?
Currently, or at the time?
Let's go with currently, then we'll backdate it.
They're 11 and 15.
So in July of 2014, they were 10 and 14?
9 and 13.
9, okay. Would you, I guess, regularly exercise with your daughters?
Try to.
Was bike riding one of the exercises that you
Yes.
participated in? I want to take you back to July 24th of 2014. Did you ride bikes with your daughters that day?
Yeah.
Where did you ride?
We started out on Coon Creek on the Macomb Orchard Trail, and then we proceeded east from there to Pitt Road, and then we turned around and came back.
Okay. What would be that total distance approximately?
I believe it's about 4 miles. 4 miles one way, so 8 miles round trip.
Do you know a young lady, or did you know in July of 2014 a young lady named April Millsap?
Yeah.
How did you know April Millsap?
She was in my daughter's confirmation class, and we had seen her walking to school when I would drop my daughter off in middle school.
Physically, you would be able to recognize April Millsap?
Yep.
I'm going to show you People's Exhibit number 1 and ask you to take a look at the screen very quickly and see if you can identify who's in that photograph.
Yes, that's April.
When you indicate on the 24th you started at Coon Creek, you were then heading in an easterly direction?
Yep.
Approximately how far, I guess, is it? Well, first of all, how far is the entrance to Coon Creek from your home?
About 4 miles.
I'm going to assume you had a car or a
Yeah,
truck.
we had a
How
truck,
are
yeah.
you employed?
I put in wood floors.
Therefore, a big van or a truck?
Yeah,
with
it was
all
a
the
pickup
bikes?
truck that I put the bikes in. And
Okay. Approximately what time did you arrive at the Coon Creek location for the trail?
6:10.
Is there a parking space, I guess, in that area where the public parks and has access to the trail?
Yeah, there's a gravel turnaround where you can park your vehicle, and it's not really a public spot, but I had lived several hundred yards from there 5 years ago, or 5 years prior to that, and so I knew about it, and I would just park there so we could ride into town. And
what's the distance then from where you entered the trail at Coon Creek to what we've been calling, and we'll get more information about it in a second, the granary?
The distance?
Yes.
About 2 miles.
How long did it take you, I guess, to go from then the Coon Creek entrance to the granary riding with your daughters?
It took about 15 minutes.
When you're riding with your daughters, what, on this occasion, as you pass the granary, what order are you in?
I was riding first, and I had my youngest behind me, and then my oldest was behind her.
We've heard a little bit about app trackers or fit apps or computer-based phone programs that map out exercise routines or distances. Were you using one of those that day?
No.
At some point in time on the path, did you see April Millsap?
Yeah.
At approximately what time did you see April Millsap?
It would have been about 6:25.
When you saw April Millsap, did she have a dog with her?
Yes.
Would you be able to recognize the dog?
Yes.
I'm going to ask you to put up People's Exhibit number 4 and ask you to take a look at that photograph. And is that the dog that you saw?
Yeah.
Thank you. Was she alone on the trail?
No, she was not.
I'm going to hand you People's Proposed Exhibit number 31 and ask you real quickly to take a look at that photograph. Can you tell the jury what that photograph is?
It's a photograph of the trail and the subdivision that's just north of it.
Based on the information that you see in that photograph, are you familiar with that, and does that represent accurately an aerial view of the path that you traveled on that we're about to talk about?
Yes.
At this time, Your Honor, we would move for the introduction of People's Proposed Exhibit number 31.
No objection, Your Honor.
It's admitted.
All right, if you would come on down. Pointer. All right, get yourself familiar a little bit with it. Would you point out where the granary is?
Over here.
Okay? You got to keep your voice up because I now have you faced away from the microphone, so we're going to get yelled at if we don't. Now,
It's right here.
sort of, where is Coon Creek from there?
It's way back this way.
That way? Okay, so you said it was about 2 miles from there to the granary?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you know what has been listed in the jury a little bit about something called the Liberty Trail? Can you show us on there where that Liberty Trail is?
I believe it's over in this section here.
Okay. And this is Liberty Street here, and there is like a trail that leads from that subdivision to the Orchard Lake Trail?
Yep.
Now, how many times have you been on the I guess, the Orchard Lake Trail prior to July 24th of 2014?
4 or 5 times.
So you're familiar enough with it?
Yeah.
Are you riding at any excessive speed with your daughters as you're traveling up?
No, my 9-year-old was, a little wobbly on her bike, so, we weren't riding fast. It was just getting more practice for her kind of a thing.
Okay. As we go through here, is this open and this more, I guess, foliage, tunnel of trees as you travel on that path?
Yeah, it's real closed in, and there's a lot of trees on either side of brush.
Does it open up again at some point?
Yeah, once you get further down, there's more farm fields, and it opens up.
You indicated that you actually did see April on the trail. Would you point out exactly where on this map approximately you saw April on the trail?
It's right in this section in here.
And that would be then just simply just a little bit, I guess, as we're heading east before you got to the Liberty Trail?
Right.
And you indicate that was at approximately 6:25?
Yes.
Without an app or a fit app, did you look at your watch at all?
No, but I had been timing it so that we would get like an hour's worth of exercise. So that's why we rode like a half an hour to pit road, and then we turned around and came back.
Was April alone when you saw her?
No.
Can you describe what you saw as you approached April?
She was walking her dog. She had her phone in her hand.
Was the dog on a leash or was the dog running free?
I believe the dog was on a leash because it was right next to her.
About how close, I guess?
3 or 4 feet.
Where was she standing, I guess, on the trail? We'll get more specific in just a second, but for now, where was she sort of standing at as the trail?
She was standing on this side of the trail.
So that would be the north side on the side?
Her right or, my left as I was passing her.
Was she with anybody?
Yeah, there was a motorcycle putzing along next to her.
Was the motorcycle moving or was the motorcycle still when you first came upon them?
It was moving.
What direction if you're heading east, what direction are they moving?
They're both traveling west.
How close is the motorcycle to April?
It was right next to her. It was in the middle of the trail.
Basically, then how close were the two of them?
Within 2 feet of each other.
Did you hear a conversation between the two?
No, I did not hear
Did you, I guess, see a conversation between the two?
From their body language, it seemed like they had been talking. That's what my thought was.
All right, I'm going to hand you a disc and ask you to hold on. I mean, this is really ridiculous how we have to do this with electronics. Did I show you what was on that disc?
Yes.
And was that a video, a GoPro video of the path from the granary up to the Liberty Trail?
Yes.
When you watched that, because you've been on the trail, were you familiar with what you were looking at?
Yes.
Was that, or is that video then representative, and you are knowledgeable about then what you were seeing on that video, and is it an accurate representation of what we have from the granary, at least for portions of your testimony, up to the Liberty Trail?
Yes.
Thank you. At this time, Your Honor, I'm going to, we will tie this in and introduce this. It's number 32, People's Proposed number 32. It's demonstrative at this point. The video does continue, and Chief Smith testifies either late this afternoon or on Tuesday. We'll enter it officially. I have spoken to Mr. Sheehy. He does not have an objection if we play that portion of it now so that we can show it to...
So are we admitting it now, or are we waiting to?
We're going to wait because I can't admit the whole thing. I'm only showing half of it.
You agree?
Yes, Your Honor.
I'm going to. I still ask you to remain there. You're a young, healthy guy. You're going to have to stand with me for a few minutes. And Craig, if we would play then, and I want you to narrate it, and I'll ask you a few questions as we go along so that the jury fully understands what we're saying. So just pause that for just a second. All right. Would you explain what we have in this thing here?
This is the granary. This is the welding shop, and this is the garden.
Keep your voice up, please.
This is the granary right here, and it's the entrance to the trail. North Avenue is right behind us.
In our questionnaire, we talked about the memorial gardens for April Millsap. Is that what we're seeing right here?
Yes.
Okay. Now, if we are here heading east, where is, I guess, the main street that you have to cross on the path? Is it behind that?
Right
ATV?
behind us.
Okay, so we're really right on the main road,
Yep.
heading east. Okay, if you would start it, Craig.
Mr. Cattell, look at you, if you don't mind. Thank you.
Take a hike,
I
is
don't
that
know
where
where,
you're...
there's no,
Okay.
there's no spot for us.
Yeah.
But,
As we're coming up to the left-hand side, is there any city buildings up on the left?
Yeah, there's a depot for the village up on the left here, I believe.
And this area that we're sitting on the left, is this the access area to this point from the city of Armada?
Yeah, for the trail, I think this is a parking area.
Okay.
You can access the trail.
The building that we're still seeing on the right is
Still
that?
a great area.
Okay. I'm not certain of the speed of the ATV that we're seeing, but, I mean, this is pretty much what you're seeing as you go along here. You're just...
Going a little faster than we are. There's the depot right there.
All right.
Village.
Now I can see it's changing from open to closed just a little bit.
Yeah.
Now, this video wasn't taken at the same time, but is this sort of representative of the foliage in the middle of summer?
Yeah, this is.
We were seeing the path there. Approximately, since you're in the measuring business, approximately how wide is that path?
I think it's in the neighborhood of 7 or 8 feet.
Now, all the way through this path, you're still in front, your younger daughter's in the middle, and your oldest daughter's behind her?
Yes.
There are then obvious times on this trail where it does make turns and there's a slightly more limited, I guess, distance that you can see in the front.
Yeah.
If we would stop it for just a second, Craig. As we're going through, I see a shoulder on the right and I see a shoulder on the left. Does the land remain even all the way through past those shoulders?
No, the trail is built up a little bit, pretty much all the way through.
Keep your voice up.
It's crowned, so the trail is built up all the way through.
So there's like
there is a drop off on either side.
All right. Is it a big drop off or a small drop off?
The average is probably 2 to 3 feet, but there are some sections where it's a little flatter than others.
So if we were looking at this, cart, the trail's up here, it might dip down just a little bit like that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Go ahead, Craig.
I think it is an old railroad bed, so it's.
Now, as we're going and watching on this, if you see the spot approximately where you saw her, please let us know and we'll stop it.
Well, I think I would have seen her right around in this section.
Okay,
here.
stop it. Okay. Now, if it
Or
just
it could be behind us a little bit more where there's more gravel.
all right, we're going to use this just as a demonstration of the width right now and location of everything, okay? So what I want to do, if you've indicated the path is around 7 or 8 feet wide, so if I were to say from this here to this here, is that about,
Yeah.
is that about the space?
Yeah.
You've ridden on that path a number of times. Had you ever seen a motorcycle on that path prior to this day?
No.
Had you ever seen motorcycles on the path prior to the time that it had been tarred and made an official trail?
Yeah, I had seen motorcycles on it before it was made into the trail.
But in the years that it's been made into the trail, you've never seen a motorcycle on it?
No.
So if the path is only sort of this wide, and you see then April and this motorcycle, is it sort of blocking part of the path?
Yeah.
Would you sort of, just using this then as the width, would you point out where the motorcycle was positioned?
The motorcycle was right in the middle of the trail.
Was it, if it's in the middle of the trail, is it pointing right at you, or is it like sideways?
No, it's pointing right at us.
And it's in the very middle?
Yeah.
Now, if the motorcycle is right here in the middle, would you point out where April is?
April is right on the side of it.
Okay, so she's
Walking
on,
next to it.
all right, north side, on your left as you're approaching. And where is Penny?
Penny is off on the, right next to April, like right on the borderline, either the gravel or on the side here.
How is April dressed?
She's wearing a tank top and shorts.
The gentleman on the motorcycle, how is he dressed, if best you can recall?
The black shirt and jeans.
Is he wearing a helmet?
Yes.
As a parent, well, first of all, is there a headlight on that motorcycle?
Yes.
Is the light on?
Yes.
Do you have a familiarity, I guess, with enduros or dirt
Yes.
bikes?
Yes.
And how is that?
Been riding since I was 10.
So you know an off-road, the difference between an off-road bike and a Harley.
Right.
And that bike that you saw, you instantly were familiar with the style of bike.
Yeah.
Would you be able to tell us exactly what make and model and horsepower it was?
No.
But you do know it was an off-road bike.
Yes.
And you're comfortable with it.
Yeah.
We'll get to that then further in just a second. Could you hear that bike?
Yes.
How loud was that bike?
Oh, it was quiet, so I knew it was definitely a four-stroke.
So a four-stroke, it's on, there's a gentleman on the bike, he's in the middle of the trail, and April is to his right. Did I ask you to say
Yes.
yes or no?
Keep your voices up.
As a parent now, are you concerned as you're approaching because he's in the middle of the trail and you have your youngest daughter and your older daughter behind you?
Yeah, I was, waiting. He kind of waited till the last minute to move over to the side, so yeah, you're getting a little, it's like, is he going to move or not? And do we have to get over on the shoulder?
That irritating you?
Yeah, it's irritating, because they're not supposed to be on the trail in the first place, but, you're worried that he's going to move over, and you don't want your daughter to get run over, obviously, and I don't want her to go off on the road and into the trees either, so.
And it wasn't until the last moment that he moved over?
Yeah, he moved over and over on the side of the trail.
So he moved to the south side of the
We
trail?
went between them.
If I'm looking at this distance here to where we have the tunnel effect there, could you give us an idea of what the distance was when you first saw the bike?
It would have been about this distance that you see right here, maybe a little bit less.
And how close were you to him as you're approaching Usemead when he finally moved? So I'm going to back up until you tell me to stop and say that's the distance we were as we were riding when he finally moved to the left.
It's about from you to the cameras.
Okay. So approximately 20 feet or so,
Yeah.
Mr. Sheik, any objection? So 20, 25 feet, and he finally moved over. Do you or any of your kids acknowledge April?
Yeah,
Who does?
my oldest.
Did April respond to it?
Yeah,
How did she respond?
she looked up from her phone and waved and said hi to her real quick, and that was it.
Did you, to the person on the bike, wave or say anything?
No,
Did either of your kids?
no.
Did he, or this person on the bike, make any, was it a male or a female?
Male.
Was there any acknowledgement from this male that, of like, hi, or sorry, or I didn't see you, or anything like that?
No.
Now, when you are approaching, you're indicating that April is looking at her phone, He's right to the left of her as they're walking toward you. Is she looking at him? Is she conversing with him?
Well, I assume that they were talking just by their body language and their close proximity, but no, she wasn't talking to him at that point.
From what you saw, she was looking down at her phone?
Right.
Once they spread apart, you more or less, I guess, threaded the needle?
Yeah.
Did you look back at some point?
Yeah, I turned around and looked back to make sure my daughters made it through okay and everything, and they were still with me, and that was it. And the motorcycle went back over next to her, and they continued on.
Was there something odd about the way the motorcycle moved back across the path?
Well, it was a little, when he got over on the side of the trail, because it does slope down, it was a little wobbly, and then they jumped back up onto the trail next to her.
Did you have some sort of impression when you saw the wobble?
Well, I thought maybe it was a newer rider, because they were kind of wobbly when they went off the trail and they jumped back on them. But, it does, a little ridge like that on the pavement.
How did they get, I guess, how close did they, when you were looking back that final time and you saw the person on the motorcycle wobble back onto the trail, how close did that cycle get to April when you stopped looking?
When I was turned around looking
Correct.
at
When
him.
you were looking at you had gone through.
He went back to the middle of the trail where he had been passing.
Did April vary her path at all from what you had seen from before you passed her till after you passed her?
No, she just kept on walking in.
Could you, for the jury, then describe the bike that you saw?
Well, I knew it had blue and white on it. It was an Enduro, and the headlight was on. And I knew it was a 4-stroke. That's how quiet it was.
If I could show you people's exhibit number 22. Take a look at that photograph. Is that very similar to the bike that you saw?
Yeah, it's the type of motorcycle.
All right. Could you, obvious, but we're making a record, could you point out to the jury where the blue is?
And the shocks here.
On the bike that you saw, is that where the blue was?
Yeah.
All right. I see some white. Would you point out to the jury and for the record where the white is? Is that where you saw the white on that motorcycle?
Yeah.
All right. I see a headlight. Would you point that out?
Mr. Cataldo, just for the record, could you indicate what area the white is, please?
Okay. Would you just describe where the white is?
Right on this, like a fender guard and a rear wheel. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Did you notice all three colors, the blue, the white, and the black, as you passed by?
No, I didn't really notice the black. The blue and white stuck out in my mind. So.
The headlight stuck out also?
Yeah.
Now, could you say exactly that's the bike?
No, I can't say without a doubt that's exactly it.
Does that look to you to be the style of bike that you saw?
Yes.
And the colors, where you saw the colors when you reported it, and we'll talk about that in just a second, are those where those colors were?
Yeah.
I want you to remain standing for just a second. I'm going to hand you people's proposed exhibit number 33 and ask you just simply take a look at that photograph for just a second. Do you recognize what's in that photograph?
Yes.
Okay. I don't think Mr. Sheik's going to have an objection. That's an aerial view of the trail that takes it down a little bit further.
Yeah, this goes all the way to Omo Road.
Okay, and that's an accurate then representation of what you know that to be?
Yes.
At this time, Your Honor, we move to the introduction of people's proposed exhibit number 33.
No objection, Your Honor.
It's admitted.
All right, now, once again, would you point out where the grain area is?
Over here.
Okay. Would you point out what has become and will be an important road for the jury, Omo Road?
Omo Road is over here.
Okay, keep your voice up. Now, You indicated then if your interaction with the motorcycle driver and April was in this area here, you continued to ride from there to Olmo Road. Did you cross Olmo Road?
Yes, I did.
How far down the trail then did you go?
We went another 1.5 miles down the road this direction.
And what's the name of the road that you turned around at?
Pit Road is where we turned around.
So Pit would sort of be over here somewhere?
Yes.
Did you, I guess, when you turned around at Pit Road, did you slow down, did you stop, did you have a picnic, anything like that?
No, we just turned around and went back.
Came back, and then you headed back west.
Yep.
When you came back west, did you pass this same area again?
Yes.
Did you see the motorcycle?
No.
Did you see April?
No.
Did you hear anything?
No.
Did you see Penny?
No.
Did you think anything odd about it?
No. I didn't hear anything, or my daughter didn't either.
If,
Just run through.
okay, if you saw them at approximately 6:25 and you went down here and you came back, approximately how long did it take to come back this direction to pass that way again?
It took about 25 minutes.
So it would have been approximately then 6:50 or 10 to 7
Yeah.
when you passed through here again?
Yeah.
I'm going to turn the lights on. If you could have a seat. Thank you. When you saw the interaction between the person on the motorcycle and April, did you get a sense that April was under any distress?
No, not at all.
You didn't stop for a conversation or anything?
No.
How was it that you came to then, I guess, report what you had seen to the police?
We had heard about it on the news, or
When you indicate you had heard about it in the news, did you hear April's name directly or just a 14-year-old girl?
I don't recall if it was I think I heard the name April. I'm not sure.
And how did you contact the police?
We went down to the station to make our statement.
In Armada?
Yep.
And who went down?
My daughters and I.
So your daughter, your older daughter, and yourself?
Both my daughters and myself.
What did you tell the police about what you saw?
Pretty much what I just said now.
Okay. Did you
that we-
indicate to them that you had seen a
Yes.
motorcycle and somebody on a motorcycle talking to April?
Yep.
Were you aware at any other time prior to going down of any media coverage of a white van?
Yes.
Despite that, you still went down?
Yeah, because I just wanted to make sure that the police looked into, who had a motorcycle and that kind of a thing, because we did see her, at around that time. So.
When you passed the person on the motorcycle, you were within how, I guess, close of that person?
Within 3 feet.
Now, was April wearing a backpack?
I believe so.
The gentleman on the motorcycle, was he wearing a backpack?
Yes.
You indicated that you told the police that there was a helmet. Could you describe the helmet for the jury?
Well, it was like a street bike helmet, and it had a full face bar on the bottom of it. It wasn't a dirt bike helmet.
What's a dirt bike helmet?
A dirt bike helmet will have a breathing apparatus in the front, and it comes around at more of an angle. So it's a different helmet.
All right. I'm going to show you People's Exhibit number 21. Does that look like the type of helmet the person was wearing?
Yes.
Okay. Now, you talked about a face bar. Is that what this piece is right here?
Yeah.
Okay. And do you know whether or not you had seen any writing on the top?
I don't recall any writing on it.
Do you know whether or not the visor was up or down?
I don't know if it was up. I believe it would have been up, because if it would have been down, I would have known they weren't talking, right? But the face, the actual shield of it doesn't stick out in my memory.
But the style and...
But the style of the helmet, and I know No, that's it.
What other description did you give to the police then of the male that you saw standing there?
That he was younger, slender in build, and about 5'10".
Your Honor, I'm going to ask you to have Mr. Vancallis stand up and come around so that the witness could see him and ask if that's the physical build consistent with what he saw on the path.
May I briefly confer with my client?
Sure. We're going to have to take a break.
I don't, can you get a break?
We're going to have 5 minutes, so don't go running out on me.
All right for the jury.
It is my understanding for safety concerns that the defendant is currently shackled.
That is true. I did not know that, Your Honor. He's never been shackled during any of the other things that we did.
He's been shackled throughout this trial, is my understanding, correct, Deputy?
You're
Not during jury selection, that's true.
Right,
So
not
that-
during jury selection. During
Well, we'll unshackle him, and
could that possibly be an ongoing thing?
how many times are we going to be doing this?
Just one time, it's just this one witness.
And then we'll continue. You know, you take off, we'll get you, so don't be running on me. Just this witness, yeah. Just this witness, right, Mr. Patello?
Huh?
Just this witness?
Just this
Because
witness.
I gotta get an extra deputy up here.
Okay.
You can have a seat, sir. Calm down.
I appreciate that.
Lieutenant, can we make our courtroom, please?
People, you can all sit down, relax.
Is this water in here, ma'am?
Yeah, is that fresh water, Chris? Is that fresh? Let's get him some fresh. Actually, why don't you get him a bottle? I'll go get it. I'll get you one of my stash bottles of water, because I don't want you drinking. I'm not the governor.
As soon as the judge comes back, we'll require. Thank you. Put a mic.
It's not ice cold, but it's
Oh,
deep.
thank you.
Take it with you.
Oh, okay.
You want a cup? You have a cup up there?
No, that's okay.
Yep, right now.
Go ahead.
What?
We have clarification, Judge. There seems to be some discrepancy as to your comment about the shackles being off to this witness or the remainder of the
No,
trial.
just this witness.
You're shaking as bad as I am.
I had a lot of coffee.
You're doing a good job. Just relax. short end of the stick is we need to remove his shackles for this witness only, and I just would like someone else at the door. Are we ready? Are you going to do it, or are we waiting yet?
Go.
Okay. All right. Chris, you could bring in the jury. All right, we're ready to proceed, gentlemen. And please, Mr. Vancallis, only go where do you want him to be?
He
Show me
just
exactly.
needs to, I'm just ask the defense, I'm asking the witness to come and stand there, and ask Mr. Vancallis to stand right here.
Okay?
Yes, sir. Where you want me right here?
Yeah, right, yeah, right.
Okay, no problem.
All right, for the jury.
Okay, Mr. Patel, you can continue.
At this time, Mr. Resch, I would ask if you would step down and stand right there. I would ask for the court's permission for Mr. Vancallis to come forward and stand right here, just right there. Okay, I want you to take a look. You indicated you could not identify the face. I want you to look at the body. Is that body consistent with the body of the person you saw wearing the helmet talking to April Millsap on the trail that morning?
Yeah, it's a type of build.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Vancallis. Thank you, Mr. Resch. Now, earlier I'd asked you about backpacks, and maybe I was not clear in my own picture. Let's talk first. The gentleman that was with the motorcycle, did you see a backpack on him?
Yeah.
Do you know whether or not you saw a backpack on Ms. Millsap?
Yeah, I believe she had a knapsack with strings on it.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Reschke. I have no further questions. Mr. Sheik will have some questions. Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Reschke.
Good morning.
Please keep your voice up.
Okay.
I'm going to ask you a few questions. I think that Mr. Cataldo's done a very fine job of pretty much getting out the scenario from A to Z. You and your daughters knew April Millsap, correct?
Yes.
So there's no mistake that that was April.
Right.
Did you or had you ever seen Penny before?
Yes.
So you knew Penny as well, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. And I believe that you just indicated in response to Mr. Cataldo's question that you never saw, that you don't recall seeing the face of this individual, correct?
No, I did not.
Okay. And other than what you've indicated that perhaps a blue and white motorcycle, black helmet, you don't remember
Yes.
seeing the Raiders that's written in white letters?
No,
in
I do
front?
not.
Now, just to clarify that, you don't remember if there was writing at all, or you don't remember if it's the Raiders, but it said something, or you don't remember any writing?
I don't remember looking at the helmet for the writing on the helmet, no.
So you don't recall seeing any writing?
Whether or not, yeah.
Okay. And, sir, you indicated that you were familiar with bikes, correct?
Yes.
Okay. That bike that was shown you was, it's a Suzuki, right?
Yes.
Okay. And I believe at the exam I asked you if you knew of a similar model of another bike, correct?
Yes.
And which one was that?
Yamaha, I think, has the same color scheme.
Same color scheme. Very similar, correct?
Well, yeah, yep.
Okay. So, and you indicated that you could not say for sure that that is the bike that you saw on July 24th at 2000?
No, I can't say that's the exact bike.
You can't exactly say that's the same helmet because this clearly has writing on it. It may or may not be, right? You may not have noticed the writing.
Yeah, I only testified to the type of helmet it was. You know, I'm sure of that.
Okay. And you indicated that you thought that the person was young. Do you remember saying a few times that you thought there was a teenager, 15, 16 years old?
Yeah, I remember saying that.
And do you remember also saying that you thought that the person was perhaps not that experienced in riding motorcycles because they were wobbly and...
Yeah.
This has been a long time ago, you know, and at the time that this happened, obviously, there wasn't anything sticking out until later in your mind, correct?
Can you say that again?
Yes. This happened in July 24 of 2014, a year and a half ago. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And at that time, when you're going for that bike ride with your daughters, it's just a regular bike. What, you're not planning or anticipating you're going to be a witness in the case, correct?
No.
Okay. So when you saw what happened, you didn't try to commit it to memory. You just kind of took in what you took in. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. So do you recall that a couple of times because you've talked to the police in this case, right?
Yes.
You had your statement recorded at one time?
Yes.
And you testified at the preliminary examination, correct?
Yes.
And if you recall, do you recall saying at different times you don't know if somebody had a backpack on or with them, and you don't know if April had a backpack, or do you remember not being certain about the backpack?
The backpack is I believe she was wearing a backpack. I wasn't paying attention. You know, clothing is not, I mean, the general colors of it, yes, but I'm not 100% on the clothing and the backpack. It's, you know, that's what my recollection is.
And that's perfectly permissible, sir. I'm reading these things, and I have to make notes on what I just saw 5 minutes ago about your testimony. So nobody's trying to, you know, say anything's improper about that. But I want the jury to understand what you know with certainty and what you don't know with certainty.
Yeah.
And so in that regard, you are indicating that you're not sure if, because you keep saying, I believe April had her backpack, but you don't have a specific recollection of if she did or not, right?
No, I mean, it's...
And the same applies to the gentleman that you saw. You don't know, you're not specifically saying you remember a recollection of him wearing a backpack or not a backpack, right?
I believe that he was wearing a backpack, but, you know, would I swear my life on it? No.
Well...
So that's...
If you have some recollection of him wearing a backpack, do you have any vague recollection of what color, or if it was...
Black and tan is what I thought it was.
Black and tan, okay. And also in terms of this individual that you saw, do you have any recollection about the kind of shirt that he was wearing right now as we speak today?
I know it was a black shirt.
Okay. You remember saying at one time that you thought it was a flannel shirt, and then another time saying that you thought it was a black T-shirt?
Yeah, but the black might have been underneath it, or it could have, you know, that's...
So would it be safe to say that you're not exactly sure what kind of shirt he was wearing?
I'm not... Yeah, no, I'm not 100%.
Okay. Now, what about the pants? You said black at one point and jeans at what point, right?
No, I've always remembered that they were jeans.
Were they full or were they shorts?
Oh, full jeans.
Full jeans. And I know most of the time I think jeans are blue. Do you remember, were they blue jeans?
Yeah, they were blue jeans.
Okay. They were not camouflage, right?
No.
They were not gray, right?
No.
No variation of gray. The blue you saw didn't look kind of grayish?
No.
Would you say the normal blue jeans like you see Wrangler, Levi's,
Yes.
etc.? And if I remember it correctly, you are not now and have never been in the position to identify Mr. Vancallis as the person that you saw in the trailer. Is that correct?
No, that's correct.
Thank you very much, sir. Just 1 second. Sir, you indicated that this person was about 5'10", right?
Yeah, that's... But
I don't want to put words in
I can't say
you.
for certain, but that was my...
But does that ring a bell with about the height that you gave of the person?
Yes.
Do you remember what you gave the weight of the person at, the approximate weight?
I think I I think I said around 150 pounds.
Okay. And what were you basing these two things on? The 5'10", I mean, again, just, was this in comparison to yourself?
I think when I originally was questioned, you know, I said I could be wrong a couple inches one way or the other, but that was my closest guess.
Okay, what about the pounds? Do you remember if you were...
Yeah, I mean, you know, I didn't work at Cedar Point guessing people's weight, so you know, I mean, we're trying to...
No, I understand.
I knew he was slender. I knew he wasn't over 200 pounds like me, and you know, so.
Would it surprise you to know that at that time, Mr. Vancallis weighed 205 pounds? Did you find that? You'd have no reason to dispute that, right?
No.
Okay. Thank you. Nothing further, Your Honor.
Thank you, sir. It's clear to you the person on the path that day was not 205 pounds?
I don't know.
And when you say young, are you basing young on the fact that you saw somebody relatively tall and thin, and that's just like a younger person's physique?
Well, I think what made me think of someone younger is they were, you know, riding next to April, so she's talking. Maybe it looked like they were talking, so I'm thinking it's a kid from school riding his bike, and you know, that could have fed into it also as far as the age goes. But yeah, you know, a slender build, and you know.
And that build is consistent with what you saw today?
Yeah.
Thank you. No further questions.
One brief follow-up. Mr. Rescue, we have heard you testify you have two daughters, correct?
Yes.
Do you have any sons?
No.
If you had a son sitting in that spot, would you feel comfortable him being convicted solely on the description that you've
Your
given?
Honor, I'm going to object to his, I mean, he's asking for an opinion on something that's, first of all, in the jury's purview, much less now asking him to project a question for something that's in the future. It's a speculation at this
You can
point.
ask him a question about how certain he is about his identification. I'm going to allow a question of that nature.
But it was, would you want someone to convict?
I said I will allow a question
Okay.
of that nature, but not that one. I don't think that's a fair question.
Actually, you know, Your Honor, I'm no good draw it. I think the silence speaks for itself. Thank you.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you, sir. You are excused.
Thank you.
Matthew Sadage is next. Just go on. At this time, Your Honor, I would indicate that I've had an opportunity to speak to Mr. Sheik. Our next witness, Matthew Sadage, is out of town. I have verification of that. We're going to agree to read the transcript of his testimony from the preliminary exam.
You're going to, Mr. Patelli, you have to speak up because you're going to be overwhelmed by the sounds of the blowers and all that. So I have a hard time. When I look at my thing, you're really low, and I have to maintain a certain degree, a level up here on my computer.
Mr. Sadage is out of town. He's on business, and he's unavailable. I did speak to Mr. Sheik prior to trial. We did agree to read his preliminary exam transcript into the record so that we would not have to require him not to miss an opportunity for a new job.
Your Honor, the recitations made by Mr. Patel are true and accurate, and we do, in fact, stipulate them.
Okay.
Mr. Dan DeBruin from our office will be reading the transcript.
For jury purposes, this transcript is from where?
It's from the preliminary exam that was conducted on December 15th in the Clarkston District Court in the year of 2014.
And sir, do you swear or affirm that you will read word for word everything in that transcript as it applies to the testimony of Matthew Sadage?
I do, Your Honor.
And what is your name?
Dan DeBruin,
And your last name is spelled?
D-E-B-R-U-I-N.
Okay.
I would indicate I said Clarkston District Court. I don't know where the hell that came from, Your Honor. It was the Romeo District Court, which covers the city of Armada.
That's fine. And watch the language, please.
All right. Thank you. We start on page 162, line 20. Is it pronounced Sadage?
Yes.
Mr. Sadage, this real quickly. This is a public courtroom. I have to ask you to respond verbally as opposed to head nods or the like, because we are recording the event and everything you say has to be recorded. So if you would follow that rule.
Okay.
How old are you?
26.
What city in July did you live in?
Armada.
Where were you employed? I understand you had more than one job in July of 2014. Where were you employed? What was your first employment?
RNJ remodeling.
And the second?
I was working at my cousin's farm.
I want to take you back to July 24th of 2014. Approximately what time did you leave your job at the remodeling company?
I want to say it was around 1:30, 2 o'clock.
Where did you go from there?
To the farm.
Approximately how long did you work at the farm?
Until right around 6 o'clock.
What time was it, I guess, when you arrived home?
About 6:30.
And what did you do, I guess, when you got home for the first hour and a half that you were home?
Sat down on the couch with my wife and my sister-in-law. We ate some dinner, watched an episode of TV, and then my wife just got new rollerblades and said that she wanted to go out on the bike trail.
Had you been on the Macomb Orchard Trail before?
Yes.
You're familiar with the trail?
Yes.
Your wife was then on rollerblades. What were you on?
My mountain bike.
Would you, I guess, how long did it take to get from your house to the Macomb Orchard Trail?
It only takes about 2-3 minutes.
Where did you enter the trail at?
It would be just back east of Floral, because there's kind of like a gravel parking lot that Lauren can go through.
We're going to put up People's Exhibit number 30. There is a laser pointer in front of you. If you would grab that laser pointer, and if you could stand if you wish, would you point out the location that you entered the trail at?
Right. There's a clearing right there.
Okay, and that's the granary right there.
Yes.
And so you were able to come down that street and head onto the path.
Yes.
About what time was it that you actually got onto the path?
It was around 7:30.
Did anything unusual happen as you were on the path?
When we were headed east?
And that was my next question that I did not ask before. You were heading east then towards what we've learned to be Omo Road down here.
Yes. We were heading down east, and a dog came running out of the little trail that connects back to the new subdivision right over in this area.
We've been calling that, because the name of that street is Liberty, we've been calling that the Liberty Trail. Are you familiar with that being the term for that?
Yes.
And you indicated that could you describe the dog at all?
Black and white, kind of looked like a collie mix.
Could we show People's Exhibit number 2? Does this look like the dog that came out?
Yes.
When that dog came out, let me ask you a question. Did you see any leash on the dog?
No.
All right, thank you. You're headed east on the trail and the dog comes out. Would you describe, I guess, where the dog came from? If you headed, would you put up demonstrative evidence 5? This photograph is purely not for location.
Okay.
But for the fact that this is going east and the trail itself, so people can get an idea of the width of the trail and the shoulder of the trail, you're headed in this direction east.
Yes.
If you would you put you and your wife and where, just for terms of distance, where the dog was and where the two of you were when you first saw the dog?
Yes. My wife would have been on this side of the trail, and I was on this side of the trail.
So you were side by side?
Yes.
She would be what we would consider on the north side, and you would be what we consider on the south side?
Yes.
Okay.
The dog came running out of the trail barking erratically, and so my wife sped up, and then I got in behind her with hopes that if the dog was going to bite us, it would bite the tire of my bike.
From what I can see then, and what you're indicating, you and your wife side by side. The dog comes out of the north side, which would have been the side of your wife.
Yes.
And did you have any advanced warning, any advanced notice of the dog?
No, it was just barking as soon as we passed.
Had you heard the dog bark prior to getting there?
No.
And when the dog came out, it was probably then, from what I can see, even with your wife on rollerblades?
Yes.
You indicate she sped up, you got behind. Where did the dog go as you got behind your wife?
It couldn't have even been maybe 75, 100 feet down the trail. I just turned around and walked back.
Did it make any effort to bite you or anything?
No.
How far behind you was it as you and your wife sped up to continue?
We pulled away from her really quickly.
Were you turning around and looking back to see what the dog was doing?
No.
How far did you go on the path that day?
We went all the way down to Pitt Road. Is it Pitt or Pratt Road?
Okay. And that would then be past Omo.
Yes.
Did you have an app? We've had several people who had sports tracker apps of some sort. Do you have any device that was measuring time, day, speed, anything like that?
No, we both left our phones at home.
You get to that point and you turn around to come back?
Yes.
The spot where the dog chased you, if you had put up 30 again, could you give us an idea, because you had talked about Liberty and getting on there and getting on here. Do you know approximately where it was that the dog came out?
It was, can we zoom in on this at all? Or is the Liberty Trail pretty much right there?
Okay, we're going to ask a couple of questions, and he's going to use Google Earth and zoom in for us for just a second.
Okay.
Let me ask you, so approximately from there to Pratt Road, how much in terms of time did it take you to get to those points?
I would say about 45 minutes or so.
And I'm going to assume from what we see there, where that Liberty Trail isn't too terribly far up from where you actually got on the path.
Yeah, so maybe not even.
Okay.
About a half hour for the whole thing now that I see the trail here.
Okay, right. So that's the dog came up was from the Liberty Trail itself?
Yes, the first time she came out of the trail. The second time she actually came out of the ditch.
Now let's talk a little bit about this trail right here. We can see in the photograph now that it's zoomed in that in fact it looks like there is an opening that you can see.
Yes.
And when you say that there's an opening, is that opening level with the path itself? Because you had indicated the second time you see the dog there was a ditch. And we'll get to that in just a second. But where that trail is there a drop-off there?
Yes.
Okay, but according to what you're testifying to, there's a clearing.
Yes.
Right there, a very clear clearing that you can see then into the back area.
Yes.
All right, now you've gone down to, lead that up, you've gone to Pratt, you've turned around. I'm assuming that in the back of your mind, you realize that you're going to have to go past the dog again.
Yes.
Would you describe now, as you're approaching the Liberty Trail, what position are you in and what position is your wife in?
We were still in the same position. She was on this side, I was on this side.
So now again, she's on the north side heading west.
Yes.
And you're on the south side heading west.
Yes.
Are you familiar enough with the trail to know that that was the area you had seen the dog previously?
Yes.
Do you make any changes this time in preparation for having to repass that area?
I told Lauren just to speed up, and then I did the same thing. I got in back behind her, and as we went past, the dog was just down in the ditch, and she was whimpering this time.
Did the dog come out the second time?
No.
You indicate that you heard the whimpering, so you could hear the dog itself.
Yes.
Did you look into the area at this time, the first time you're going past, to see where the dog was whimpering?
Yes.
What did you see when you looked in?
I just saw what looked like kind of trash to me, because we were going quickly. And my wife looked at me and said that it appeared to be a mannequin or a doll. It looked like down there.
What did you do?
We went up just a little bit further on the trail, and she asked me to go back and look. So I told her to wait there, and I went back. I walked down into the ditch, and that's where I saw her shoes at, and I hollered to her a couple of times.
When you say shoes, let's break that down just a little bit. You come back to the area. Do you see the dog?
Yes.
You were on your bike.
Yes.
I'm assuming you stop and get off your bike.
Yes.
Are you calling out to the dog?
No.
If you can recall, do you remember what you may have been specifically saying as you were looking in and going down that path?
Are you okay? Do you need help?
Now, you described it before as a ditch.
Yes.
Would you describe for the judge and then what you mean specifically by it being a ditch?
There's kind of a retention ditch that runs the whole span of the trail that drops down roughly 2 feet or so, and it was maybe 3 feet down, but it was just enough to where when I dropped down into there, I could see clearly across the ground.
Prior to dropping into that ditch area, would you describe the foliage and how it was? Was it empty? Full?
Just the thick brush, trees, just kind of like a fence road basically.
You get down to the bottom. You indicate that you see, would you describe in detail what it is that you see now and how far from the path it is that you see it?
Not even 15 feet from where I was standing in the ditch, there was a girl with her clothes, with her skirt down at her knees and her shirt pulled up above her chest, and her head was kicked back.
Did you go up to the body?
No.
Did you see anything else besides the body in the manner that you've just described it?
The shoes were the indicator where I stopped at.
And approximately how far in from the ditch, the drop-off that you came in, was that first shoe?
Only 5-6 feet.
And then you saw her body approximately 15 feet past that?
Yes.
Did you see any movement?
No.
Did you see any motion whatsoever?
No.
Where is the dog at this time?
It was standing right alongside of me.
Can you see any blood?
No.
I'm assuming I may have asked it, but you didn't go up and take any pulse or do anything like that?
No.
You're constantly calling out?
Yes.
Are you getting any response whatsoever?
No.
About what time is this?
Right around 8.
What do you do then immediately upon not having any responses to what you're calling out?
I turned around and my wife was heading back and getting closer, so I jumped out of the trail. We turned around and I said we need to go get a phone. And so we took off as fast as we could try and get back to our house. And then that's when we ran into another couple out there that had a cell phone.
Approximately how far down the trail did you come across this other couple?
If you zoom back out, you can see where the trail kind of makes the hard bend at. So right here, because we almost hit them on the curve.
What did you do, say to the couple?
I said that we need to use your phone. I asked them if they had their phone at first, and they said no. And then I said that we found somebody in the woods, and we need to call 911.
Did you call 911 at that time?
Yes.
At this time, Your Honor, we have People's Proposed Exhibit number 34, which is the 911 call. I have spoken to Mr. Sheik. At this time, he is going to stipulate to the introduction of the 911 call.
That is true, yeah.
It is admitted. And let me tell the jury that when they use the word stipulate, it means that they agree. And also, I forgot to tell you that a preliminary examination is a hearing where testimony is taken under oath, and it occurs in the district court. And both sides are present to be able to, both the prosecution to ask questions as well as the defense. And you are to consider this as well as evidence. Go ahead.
July 24, 2014, 20, 19, 26.
I'm fairly certain we just found a body along the mountain bike trail.
Okay, where are you at?
We are between Omo and North Avenue. It's in Armada. There's a subdivision. Do you know the name of the street from the subdivision? It's kind of new construction. Kind of.
Okay.
If you guys come down to Omo and stop at the bike trail and head back west, I can meet with somebody there.
Okay, so you're going to meet where it crosses Omo.
Yes.
Okay, it looks like GPS is putting you a lot closer to Fulton Street, which is
I can meet you guys at Fulton as well. We're kind of right in the middle. Or if you take if you take Toro till it ends at the water department, I can meet you right there.
okay. What hold on one second. Is it a male or a female?
Female.
About how old do you think she is?
I didn't get that close.
Okay. Is she on the trail?
No, she's off of the trail. We touched back in the woods. Her clothes are all taken off.
Okay, and you don't believe she's breathing?
I don't believe so, no. Adaj.
Yes, please. First name?
Matthew.
Okay. Matthew, you're going to meet them at Fulton, right?
Floral would be closer. There's Counter Park right at the,
Floral?
Yep. Floral and Depot. They've got.
Okay. Okay, we'll have them meet you at Floral in Depot.
Okay.
Okay?
All right, thank you.
Thanks, bye.
What did you do then after you called 911?
I went over towards the water department. I told them that I would meet them in the parking lot there. I had tried to make it to my house to grab my phone. And then as soon as I got to the end of the street, one of the firefighters was heading back. So I met him at the parking lot. And I told him where she was. And then the ambulance was shortly behind him, and then Officer Phil was right behind them.
What was your wife doing in the meantime when you headed to the...
She went with the couple back to the Liberty Trail, just west of it.
Thank you, Matthew. I have no further questions. Mr. Sheik may have some questions for you.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Just so I'm right about the time frame, you said you got off your second job at the farm at about 6 p.m., is that correct?
Yes.
And you got home about 6:30?
Yes.
And you and your wife and your sister-in-law had a drink or two and ate or had dinner? I'm sorry?
Yes.
And watched TV or something?
Yes.
Okay, and then she wanted to go rollerblading, so the two of you went. You had your mountain bike and she had?
Rollerblades.
Rollerblades.
Yes.
Okay, now just keep in mind with this, I think you indicated that in response to Mr. Cataldo's questioning, by the time... I'll restate it, okay? Okay, now just in keeping with this, I think you indicated that in response to Mr. Cataldo's questioning, by the time you went to all the way to the end of where you were biking to, and then came back, it was almost 45 minutes.
Between a half hour and 45 minutes. It's not that long of a hike. But like I said before, we didn't have our phones, so I didn't have an exact time.
An exact time, okay. And you indicated it's just a couple of minutes from your house to the trail, right?
Yes.
Now, did you recall what the young lady that you saw was wearing at all, other than, I believe you indicated that it seemed like the top had been pulled up, correct?
Yes, she had a white, looked like a tank top.
Okay, and a blue jean skirt and white shoes?
And a blue jean skirt and white shoes.
Sorry, I read your part. Did you see both shoes or just one?
Both shoes, I thought. That one I would have to think about, but I'm pretty sure both were there.
Okay, and you said white top, blue jean skirt.
Yes.
And what color shoes?
White, like boat shoes.
And you yelled out to her, "Are you okay? Do you need help?" But you never touched her, took a pulse, or tried to administer first aid or anything like that, correct?
No.
To the best of your knowledge, did this other couple or did your wife try to take a pulse or administer any first aid or anything?
No.
Did you see anybody touch Miss Millsap's body, like a firefighter, EMS, or anybody?
No.
When you got to the end of the trail, that's when you said that the firefighters were already there, right? You were trying to make it home to get your phone, but...
Yeah, I was trying to meet them at the water department, and they followed me. I rode my bike back down, and the ambulance followed me right down the trail.
If you would do me a favor, would you point that laser at where the water department is?
It's this building right here.
Okay, so it's kind of not that far from the granary, right?
Correct.
And then you ran into the police, where, or the firefighter?
Right at the...
Right at the fire department?
Yeah.
Now, this other couple that you folks got the phone from,
Yes.
were they a Caucasian couple?
Yes.
Both of them Caucasians?
Yes.
Do you remember approximately what age they were?
I would say late 30s, early 40s.
Initially, they indicated they did not have a phone, but then once you told them that this was important and needed some urgency, then they provided it to you.
Yes.
And then they accompanied your wife back to the Liberty Trail.
Yes.
While you went the other way.
Yes.
Do you know if they subsequently gave the contact information to either the firefighters, EMS, or the police officers?
I do not know.
Do you know these individuals by chance? Have you seen them ever?
No, I do not.
Your Honor, may I briefly confer with my client? Of course. Thank you, sir. Nothing further.
There was no redirect, Your Honor, at this time. Mr. Sadage's testimony is complete.
Next witness?
shutting it off, Your Honor.
Do that outside. It's going to make that kind of noise.
He's not here, so there's no back.
Judge Officer Newmeyer, is about 5 minutes from the courthouse. He's our next witness. We're going to have to reposition the video equipment anyways because there are certain images that are going to be displayed in his testimony that I am
Could we
100%.
speak at the sidebar, Your Honor, real quickly?
Well, what you're telling me is we need a break, right?
Yes.
We had hoped our witness, we thought this would go till 10 o'clock, so we scheduled him at 10 o'clock, knowing the court had
And at
indicated
10 o'clock,
yesterday.
I have 6 hearings scheduled.
Right, so we're a few minutes short of that.
Folks, we'll let you go for an hour, so go do what you need to do. And also keep in mind that we